Welcome, everyone. My name is Rebecca,
I'm Risa.
and we are here with Bhante Kusala, who is in Toronto and at the West End Buddhist temple. He's a monk from Sri Lanka, and he and I went to divinity school together here where I am in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We work together at the library, and we've had many conversations and smiles through the years. So I'm really overjoyed that he's willing to talk with us for this grief class, and really happy to be with both of you. And Reese is going to kind of introduce the experience we're going to have together, and then we'll get started.
Right. Great. So we thought it would be fun and meaningful to do kind of an exercise in association or a game of association. So the idea is that we have chosen from a few objects and we'll present each object one by one. And the idea is to ask Kusala to reflect upon each object in terms of what comes to mind and what comes to heart around grief or grief counseling or loss, and just go through each object one by one and then see what comes up. So we thought that would be a fun and meaningful way to go about this. So
Yeah.
I sit with the Shambhala, with my Sangha at Shambhala, which is part of the Tibetan lineage, one of the Tibetan lineages. Rebecaa?
Yeah, I sit with a community at the Greater Boston Zen Center, which is a form of Soto Zen Buddhism.
And I'm from Theravada background, and I'm a Buddhist monk in that tradition. Since I was 16, I'm 34 now. I don't know how many years that is actually.
Okay, let's begin. Okay, so I'm going to present to you a little orange.
So, an orange reminds me of being colorful and being sweet and delicate inside. And when we are grief stricken and when we are dealing with a loss, we forget this sweetness and colorfulness because a lot of grief takes place in our heart, and we will eventually let things be, and they will disappear. The grief, grief is a measure of your love towards someone, and that when you understand, you realize that it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel not feel the brightness in you, and it's okay, and you accept it. That is my first thought about an orange.
Thank you.
Okay, lovely.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Next, we have a flower or plant. These are actually dried flowers, and Risa
Mm.
has a live plant.
Plant is about, really, plant and flowers both are about hopes, you know, and flowers symbolize that we have achieved the goal, and this particularly that sunflower turns toward the sun. It finds the sun all the time, and the plant holding it, it's giving support, root, and plants have these roots deeply grounded to the earth, and when when you are dealing with grief, we go to our roots. We let the flowers bloom, and sometimes when flowers aren't, as bright as we want them to be, we don't fix the flowers. We just fix the ground, like watering. And that's what we need to be aware of sometimes when going for your meditation group. That is your root, and they will hold the space for you, and they will guide you through this experience, and they will help you process it until you see flowers again.
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. Next, it's a glass of water.
A glass of water is very much something that I teach to people. Holding one, how heavy it is, the longer you hold it, heavier you feel. So the idea is to put it down. We get attached to our suffering sometimes. Grief is one thing that we get attached to. We try to remember it, and we try to cry every time grief comes to our mind. But instead, if you put it down, you can observe the moment, you can experience it right now. The moment you put it down, there's this shaking water inside, but it settles down. Think that you notice it. It's a turmoil in your mind the moment you try to put it down. But immediately after, you'll see it has these ripples and ripples. And afterwards, it becomes calm down. That's the power of letting go of your grief and things that you can control, such as losses in life.
Thank you.
That's my timer.
I did that, by the way. I put it down like you suggested, and I really tried to flow with the settling of the water as you were talking. And it's resonant. Like, I really like that one. Thank you.
You can treat it as that thing. It's not the thing that you're holding. It's not personal anymore. It's a thing that you put.
I love that.
It's wonderful to feel that with water because, like Risa said, flowing with the water as it
Mm-hmm.
stills, and water is this thing that, we associate with both movement and
Yeah,
stillness, and to sort of let the water settle, and the
yeah.
heaviness of water it kind of tilts how I have thought of water before. So it was
Even if
resonant for me
it's
too.
muddied, we let it, we let things settle, and then we can see what is in the water actually clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I will use that one myself. Okay.
That's a actually that's the Buddha speaking. He
Pardon?
said that's the Buddha speaking. He said that,
Is
when
it,
your
is
mind
it
is
in a particular sutra?
I can find it for you. Especially he mentioned about memory, when you can't remember things, that's because you have too many things in your mind. It's like fungi, or it's like muddied water. Why don't you let things settle?
Hmm.
Like have mud of lust, mud of hatred, mud of delusion, all of that swirling in you. And why don't you just let things settle, and then you will start seeing things clearly and remembering things. So,
I
If we have
feel like
time.
setting down a glass of water will always have a new meaning for me now.
always,
Me
Like,
too.
always.
I want to always watch that settle now. I feel like I would set water down and just immediately do something else, but this relationship to setting
Yeah,
it down is something I'm going to remember for a while.
it
Me
definitely.
too.
Yeah,
Thank
put
you
it.
for that one.
Absolutely.
Okay, next.
Here we have a lit candle.
Woo! Mine's hot.
Yeah, be careful.
You
Fire.
can tell if it is kind of burning hot. So candles, this is when you can use grief to educate others. Like lighting one candle from this candle will only increase your brightness. Remember that. So you can use this grief to approach people who are dealing with grief and help them process it, help them see it, help them see how you felt when you dealt with the loss. Did you cry? Why you didn't cry? Why you cried later? Do you have your own unique story? And bring it to, grief counseling groups and share that. And you will see different people process things differently. And you can definitely uh, brighten their day with your story, and they will always pay attention to it. So you are a candle, and you just let the light shine bright, and your light will only increase by giving your light to another candle and another. You can also increase it to 100 candles, and you will see how it has a therapeutic effect on you.
Hmm. Yeah, that raises another question. Maybe we have time after. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
headphones.
Headphones remind me of really deep listening, which is a quality that we all should have, because we like talking but less listening. And only when you listen, you learn from the other person, and then you slow down and you make it your own experience. And there's this deep compassion coming from you, especially after getting the full story from the other, party. And that is all because you listened, which is lots of people who talk uh, have the ability to get the attention in the beginning, but they will lose that attention when they continue talking too much. So it's always good to pause and listen. And even if the other party is not talking, you can tell through their gestures that they are with you or they are somewhere else. So it's a great skill to develop, um, and that way you not only share your experience of grief, loss, or joy with another, you also learn from their own unique experience and connect with them. Becomes universal that way.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
Next, we have a rock.
Or a stone.
Yeah, some people say your heart is like a rock, you don't express emotions. They will expect you, like maybe it's your mom who died, and they will be wondering like why you don't cry, is your heart, don't you feel any emotions? This rocks also have other abilities, like they stay in one place with such constitution, what is the word, like the stuff in the rock is all tied together, and they don't melt easily. They they stay tough in even the most heated situations. And only when it is really heated from outside that they will decide to melt like lava. So you are a rock and be happy about it. You can be the rock and nobody can judge you for being the rock you are.
Thank you.
This is amazing. I love to now teach you these methods, different objects and speak about them. People, lots of thoughts come.
I'm loving it too. I'm finding that I have all of these kind of follow-up questions. If we had more time, I'd love to talk to you more about all some of the things that you're raising.
Mhm.
This is fun. Okay.
With a blank paper, I always say you can't edit a blank page, but you can always edit a bad page. This is a thing I teach to teenagers who are dealing with different issues. I say, you may not know how to start writing about your experience, but you can begin now and you can edit it later. It is like that Sri Lankan woman, Sonali Dharaniyagala. She wrote about her experience after tsunami. She was in vacation in Yala Forest National Park in Sri Lanka, and the tsunami wave came. She was the only survivor. Her parents died, her husband died, two children died. They didn't even see she didn't even see their bodies. And she came back to New York and started working with this counselor who helped her to write. Until then, she got into drinking. I think she quit work. She never went to her home in England. She didn't want to see the small notes in the refrigerator that she put for her kids after the vacation, or take this to school. She didn't want to see them. I think it took her 6 months to go back and see that house. It was closed until then. And now she's married to a woman. It's a completely different life from what she used to have. And she has changed, and she can treat that experience as that thing in the book, not the thing inside of her.
There's a partial theme emerging of relating to grief outside as well as what you're holding inside, and giving it over to a page or to the glass of water, having a relationship with it rather than being sort of stuck in it.
It's always how personally you want to take it, or how impersonally you can treat it. It's causes and conditions. It's not you.
Causes and conditions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like to think of the flame as the story as a flame, and that by telling the story or writing the story, you're brightening the world and other people with your own unique experience, whether your heart is the rock or your heart is the clear water. There's this,
Yeah.
whatever that story is a unique flame.
Yeah.
I was motivated when you talked about melting the rock, because in essence, there's this can, even though it's not readily seen, this can change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you were talking about that, I was motivated just like to bring them together,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
to help it out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Candles melt, rocks melt too.
Yeah, like who typically looks at a rock and
Think that it melts.
thinks about it melting. So that's great. I love that one.
Me too. So this is
Okay.
our last one for now. We have
That's keys.
these, some together and some separate.
Right.
Look, I have a lot of stuff on mine. This furry
Because
ball.
there are many doors that you can open. We think that we live in a house. We think that we live in a mansion. We think that we live in a car. But honestly, we are living in our mind, which is an unlimited area. So the keys to open your mind is found within your own wisdom. And this one experience you had is not the only experience that's going to define you for the rest of your life. These experiences are keys to open your mind, unwrap the gifts that shows, and see what you can do. You can buy the best mattress in the world, the best house in the world, But if your mind is not clean, is not opened through these keys, you are not going to have the best sleep. You are not going to have the best peace in that house. So if regrets are piling and worries are being built, you are not living in peace. You are living in pieces. So open these little closets inside your mind using these keys, and it's all in your hand. All you need to do is, use these instruments, tools to open, and the doors to your heart are open, always open to that person who died. They can come and stay, they can go. So what? Your door, the door of your heart is always open. For new people, old people, doesn't matter who they are.
Thank you so much.
I will never look at these objects the same way again.
That's amazing, what happens to when we just look at it. It's a lot of wisdom in everything that we see.
Well, we thank you so much.
Thank you for putting me through this exercise. I loved it. But I have to go. They are waiting for the service, actually. So is it okay I go?
Yes,
Yes, thank you so much.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Kusala.
Take care.
Okay.
But we can do a follow-up anytime.
Okay,
if
beautiful.
Okay,
we can go
wonderful.
class, if you let me know.
Okay, have a great day.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Care.
I'm
Bye.
sorry. But they knocked on my door and they realized I was doing this. I wasn't expecting that to happen sooner. Normally it
Speaking
starts
of
at
doors, right? The heart is always open, and now it's time to go.
but I hope you got what you wanted.
Oh, yes, and so much more.
Yes, absolutely.
So Risa, let's stay in touch and we should meet soon.
Yeah, I will come. I'm
Yeah.
Etobicoke's I'm in the West End.